Am I the a-hole for rudely inviting my sister-in-law to leave and get some therapy for the way she kept talking about my child? My wife's 32 female younger sister, 24 female, is in college in our area. Her lease was temporary where she was living, so she's staying with us while she looks for a new place. Honestly, I, 30 male, am not a big fan of hers. She's kind of bratty, but what really made me not stand her is her attitude with our 10-month-old son. Anytime the subject of my son/kids come up, she finds a way to make it about her being child-free. Example 1, when we announced our pregnancy to her family. Everyone was happy for us. Her reaction was, "Ew, that's so gross." Then telling us sorry, it's just weird for her thinking about being pregnant and glad she's never going to. That already put us off and soured the moment. Didn't change throughout my wife's pregnancy, so we ignored her. After our son was born, she threw a fit because my in-law sent her a couple of pictures and she called my wife asking to tell her their parents not to send her anything, because not everyone cares about babies. We weren't the ones who sent it to her, but still mad at us for shoving our baby down her throat. My wife's gotten mad about her attitude, but her folks says she's expressing herself and not to take it personally. When we let her move in, it got worse. If my son cries, she loudly says, "Oh my God, shut him up. See? This is why yada yada won't have kids, etc. He's so annoying. He's so needy. Makes dramatic gagging noises when we're feeding him fruits and tells us to take him somewhere else for that, which we don't, and my wife just tells her to freaking deal with it. I can understand someone personally not liking kids and never wanting any. What I don't is going out of your way to always talk about how much you hate them. Anything my son does, she always has to say something, and I don't appreciate that negativity towards my child. Earlier, my son hit his head and started crying. I calmed him down after a minute, and without asking for her opinion, she says, "You guys had months to abort. You did this to yourselves." So I snapped at her that if she hates babies so much, then she's welcome to get the hell out of my house. Don't understand what deep hate she has for kids, but maybe get some therapy because it's one thing to not like them. It's another to always want to make it known how much she despised them. And that I was tired of her annoying rants while she's eating our food for free, complaining about the baby while she's acting like one herself. So yeah, it was quite a bit what I said. She didn't say anything after, but told my wife. Then their parents. The reason they think I was a jerk is because I threatened her living situation when she wouldn't have any place to go right now and were her only option. My wife agrees with me, which triggered an argument with her parents. I get she's still young and dumb, so that's why I'm asking if I'm the a-hole. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. I'm sorry, but screw her. She needed a place to stay and she knew a baby lived there. So she has no reason or right to complain. She doesn't get to sit there and make awful statements about your kid and lives, and being completely disrespectful in your home for free. Tell your wife that this is your hill to die on. Her sister's actions have consequences, and if her parents don't like it, they can pay for her to come live with them or a hotel room. You don't have to take that kind of mistreatment in your own home. Your kid doesn't deserve it either. Young child cries about banging head, and her first response was that you could have terminated him? Who the hell says that? Also, if her parents think that it's okay for her to behave like this towards their grandchild, then I may not want them around my kid either. Not today home. Jesus Christ. She implied you should have terminated your child just because she didn't like hearing him cry. She's got some issues. I would have reacted the same way you did. Yeah, and not like I was venting or having any sort of trouble with him. We calmed down once I picked him up and we snuggled on a couch. There wasn't any reason for her to say anything like that at all. Dude, even if he was throwing the biggest tantrum ever, telling you that you had months to abort is unconscionable. She's lucky you didn't toss her out on her butt right then and there. Not today home. She sealed the deal with a procedure comment. Consequences of her own actions. She sounds frankly awful. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not asking my mother-in-law nicely to hand over the baby for feeding? Hi, I'm a new mom. Had my son 5 weeks ago. My husband's parents have been staying with us and things have been super overwhelming. Mother-in-law has a habit of taking the baby and refusing to give him back to me. Should say I'm deliberately ruining her time with him. My son needs feeding every 2 hours, and she basically makes me beg her to hand him over to me so I could feed. Last night at 10 p.m., mother-in-law had my son in her arms while sitting on the couch with my husband and his dad. I was exhausted. The baby started crying. I told my mother-in-law to hand him over to me so I could feed him. She refused, and I kept asking. My husband starts talking about what a whiny little girl I was to complain that our son is receiving love and cuddles, and how I'm using feeding as an excuse to keep the baby away from his mom. I ignored him and told his mom to hand over the baby. She refused and said I needed to wait a little longer. I got angry at this point. My husband said I could take the baby after I asked his mom nicely. This had me seething, so I meanly told his mom to stop being annoying and overbearing and hand him over to me. She looked at me shocked and hurt. She handed the baby over and ran into the guest room, and my husband gave me a look, then followed her and stayed inside to comfort her. He came into the room while I was feeding my son and started yelling about how disrespectful I was to speak to his mom this way and treat her poorly, when all she's doing is showing our son more love than I do. I told him about how she's been taking the baby for hours and preventing me from feeding him properly. I said that 1, our son isn't an object for me to act like I own him. 2, his mom was doing nothing wrong. And 3, I should have asked nicely instead of being a witch to his mom and making her cry. I started crying and yelled that I'd go to my mom's place if his parents stay any longer. And he yelled back saying, "Shut the heck up. You're only acting up because you don't want my parents around. Heck's wrong with you?" Then walked out. I felt terrible thinking maybe I was rude to his mom, but I also think that I'd hit my limits here. Am I the a-hole for not asking her nicely like my husband wanted? Not the a-hole. Pack your gear and take baby to your parents. Rethink your relationship as well. Who the hell speaks to their wife like that, especially after having baby? Protect your mental/physical health at all cost. OP, your husband is prioritizing his mother's emotional wants over your 5-week-old baby's physical needs. Get out now. This is only going to escalate, and he's already shown his own child isn't his top priority. That's not normal. That's terrifying. Yes. Who the hell berates his wife in front of his parents for a biological necessity, and then starts yelling and cussing in a room with a newborn in it? Not stay home, but OP needs to get out now. And I hope the husband doesn't get any type of custody. Sometimes the worst in people comes out after a child is born. It is far too common that abusers don't let down the facade of loving spouse until their soon-to-be victim is forever tied to them with a child. If OP's husband didn't show his true colors until the baby arrived, the speed with which he is escalating this is severely alarming. It's for this reason OP needs to leave now. She needs to either have her parents show up, help her pack the necessities and leave, or if her parents aren't able to, she needs the police to assist in a smooth exit. Not the a-hole at all, and I'm very alarmed at your husband calling you a whiny little girl for trying to feed your child, and then attempting to prevent him from being fed even when he was crying, until you ask his mother nicely for permission to feed your own child. You seriously need to evaluate if this is a safe environment for your child to be raised in. The father is an a-hole for running after the grandma not supporting his wife. He seems like a child himself. Unbelievable. I am not a mother, and I even know that babies need to be fed regularly as newborns. Also, why is mother-in-law trying to bond with the baby so badly? It's not her kid. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for quietly leaving my boyfriend's family Christmas when his mom was trying to set him up with a next-door neighbor in front of me? I visited my boyfriend's family for the first time and it was so awkward. I was literally just sitting there at dinner and his mom starts talking about how the neighbor girl is single and pretty and a good Christian, and she was going to invite her to New Year's. I was sitting there like, WTF? It felt like she was trying to put me in my place or something. And despite my boyfriend declining, he was being very unassertive about it when I would have been saying, "What the absolute heck are you saying, Mom?" in his shoes. So I got up, got my casserole, cake, pint wine from the kitchen, and headed out. Drove home to my place, and texted my boyfriend, "Not here for this reality dating show drama, lol. Is your mom always like this?" He asked me where I was, and I said I'd headed out. I'm not into the trashy reality TV drama vibe. He asked where, and I said I was at home. He said he didn't want me to spend Christmas alone, and I said, "Come on by then." and he felt conflicted because his family was already tense after they realized I'd left with my cooking and a dessert. I said, come by or don't, just tell me when you figure it out. But then I ate a bunch of casserole and cake, drank a lot of wine, and fell asleep. My boyfriend was texting and calling a lot when I was asleep, but I missed it all. He had apparently decided to leave the party and spend a night with me, but when I didn't answer, he ended up staying. The next day, I asked him if he sorted things out with his mom so she doesn't go saying that crap anymore. He said he wasn't interested when it was happening. I asked if he could have a serious talk after the fact, because I was there when it was happening and I don't think she got it. He wasn't sure, so I just made other plans for New Year's because even though he'd invited me to this, I wanted a good time and not to be dealing with pettiness. My boyfriend was frustrated I dipped on New Year's too, and it's been an ongoing argument. I think he should have chewed out his mom on Christmas for being petty and weird. He thinks I shouldn't have ghosted with my food, especially because I'd brought a few big parts of the Christmas dinner. Am I the a-hole for dipping on Christmas dinner? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. Hell yes, you're my hero. Now, if boyfriend can't step up and be yours by having your back, he shouldn't get your dessert either. Only way it could have been better is if she'd pulled an Uno reverse and done the same thing to boyfriend's father. Hey, boyfriend's father. My neighbor just got divorced. She's single, pretty, and she's a very bad Christian. Interested? Not stay home. Sorry you had to deal with that BSOP, but you should be proud of how you responded. Not stay home. The only question is, why are you still with this guy? He seems to be missing a spine, which, in my opinion, makes him a poor partner. Yes, what you see here is in fact a slinky. It bends in every direction depending on which direction it is pushed, but it isn't fully committed to any. Wait, you got up from the table, picked up the casserole, the cake, the pie, and the wine. You must have made more than one trip from the kitchen to the car, and none of them noticed you were gone? No one tried to stop you or apologize? Your boyfriend only asked where you were after you texted him. I think you need to warn the next door neighbor what she's in for with this wonderful sample of humanoid garbage. Haha, honestly, I would have hated to be in her shoes. She came to New Year's thinking she and her family were invited as a family friend, and found out when she arrived that she was there to be set up with some random guy who already had a girlfriend. I didn't think to warn her because I didn't expect her to actually come, but apparently she did, and it was awkward. Wait. So after her awful comments and the fact that you left, that witch doubled down and actually invited a poor girl to New Year's Eve? And your boyfriend had nothing to say? Nope, it'd be kicked to the curb if it were me. Yep. I honestly wasn't expecting her to go, but apparently she was under the impression that her whole family was invited as family friends. I feel so bad. That must have been so awkward. Apparently 30 minutes in, she got a stomachache and went home. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for insisting that my boyfriend pay me for breaking my $3,500 model ship? My female 33 dad passed away and left me one of his last and favorite ship model, and I had it on display in my living room. But for some reason, I never actually mentioned it to my boyfriend, male 37 of 6 months. Maybe because we don't live together and he doesn't visit often. The other day, he and his friends came over to my place to celebrate his birthday. They got drunk and started throwing the sofa's pillows at each other. I told them to stop, then went into the kitchen to clean up. I then started hearing loud noise. I walked out the kitchen and saw my model ship in my boyfriend's hands. I rushed to get it, but he passed it on to his friend, and then his friend passed it on to the other friend. I started running around trying to catch it while yelling at them to stop. Then my boyfriend grabbed it again. I was so angry I told him to hand it over, but he said I needed to kiss him first. I yelled at him and I tried to throw it to his friend who tried to catch it, but it missed and hit the wall and broke. I lost it. Kicked all of his friend out, then had a fight with him, telling him this was a sentimental item from dad. I demanded that he pay me $3,500 because this is how much it costs. He left, then called in the morning asking if I was serious about wanting him to pay $3,500, and I said I was dead serious. He started making excuses, saying he was drunk, and also I never told him about this ship and how important it was for me before, both monetarily and sentimentally, so that's on me. We had another fight. And then I hung up upon telling him I'm expecting the $3,500 and that I wasn't afraid to take the legal route if I have to. He kept texting asking me to let it go and saying it was cruel of me to threaten him with the law. He had his friends apologize thinking this would be it, but I insisted that he pay me. I get that I might have worked up over an item and treated my boyfriend badly, but to me it seemed like recklessness on his part. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole, but he's 37 and treats you, mocking you that night, and your possessions like that? You deserve better. Yes, he's 37. He claims to be outgoing and is a child at heart, but everything has limits. Being a child at heart to me means that he can partake of enjoying things with a joyful, respectful appreciation. He and his friends did not do this. So sorry this happened. For me, being a child at heart is still getting happy/excited while watching Tom and Jerry, not whatever he did. Not stay home. Ship ahoy! What shall we do with a drunken boyfriend? / what shall we do with a bully boyfriend? / what shall we do with a loser boyfriend when he breaks an heirloom? Dump him. I was waiting for a walk the plank moment. Nope, not stay home. I don't take new partners or guests on a tour of my home that indicates everything's value, so they know what's financially or emotionally viable for them to break. These people were in your house, disrespecting your things, and broke something important to you. He absolutely should be paying for it to be replaced or repaired.